Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We have bellied up to the bar tonight. We're going to do something in just a manner that is, how can I describe this? Let's see. It's going to be a barrel-aged event that it's a God. I love StreamYard. For anyone who knows me, and I'm going to make a left turn already. And I love StreamYard, but for whatever the godforsaken reason, it always changes my privacy settings on all the shows. Okay, we're fixed there. All right, so we're going to have a little bit of a barrel-aged fun here. We're going to belly up to the bar with, you know what, one of my favorite people that I look forward to every Wednesday to talk to, because at some point, him and I are going to derail the conversation, and people aren't going to understand why, and we play off of each other very well, whether he understands that yet or not. And we always have fun with it. And he's another one of our alumni. He's probably been doing it forever. So we've had just about everybody on before it's all over with. I won't even have to find guests anymore. So joining us live from parts unknown in a van down by the river, it is Dr. Tom Denham.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Hi, Doc. How are you?
Good. The first thing we should do is talk about what we're drinking first, because I know that previous guests that they bring their booze and all that kind of stuff. So what are you drinking? And I'll tell you what I'm drinking.
All right. So tonight, and look at this, longtime fan and friend Keith's already bellied up with us. What's up, brother? Glad to see you're back and around. So tonight I'm into a little bit of Still Austin Great Rye Whiskey. Friend of mine, Brian, he's been on the show. He sent me a bottle of the Still Austin. This is called the Artist. And I sent him a bottle of our personal favorite around here, some New Scotland spirits straight from the Helderberg Mountains of New York. And this is a Empire Rye. So I'm drinking that one. How about yourself there, Dr. Tom?
I thought about this all day today, about what I was going to drink. And so, as a triathlete, I was like going to show up with a protein shake or seltzer or something like that. So my daughter lives in Boston, and we went to the Boston Tea Party ship, and right next to the ship, there is the tea room. So I'm drinking this, which is fine tea, Lapsang Souchong Smoky Black Tea, especially blended for Boston Tea Party Ship and Museum, 306 Congress Street, Boston. So just to give you a sense of what it's like, it's very smoky. So the minute you drink this, you are instantly transported to a 17th or 18th century tavern that's dark, that's got 6-foot ceilings with a fireplace where they're making dinner that they're going to put on a pewter platter, and there's a musket over the top, and everyone's dressed in period costumes. So that's what I'm drinking. It's delicious.
Do you get instantaneously scurvy from it? like that's all that I could think of as you're describing this is like, I'm going to drink this and get scurvy. Congratulations.
It takes 5 seconds off my bike during the triathlon. So okay. That's why I drink it.
And Keith says you got to try the stuff that his neighbor and this is why he's from Kentucky, because he says Holler makes it in an old rusty metal bucket in a radiator from a 57 Ford. Got to be careful. Might go blind trying it. So that's something for the palate. So let's get into this so we can talk to Dr. Tom. We're talking about how to change careers. We're probably going to get in a little bit of extreme sports also, because those of you that are watching us live, you can see he's got on his cycling shirt. He's a triathlete. He's all these different things. And those of you that are watching us live, please take a moment, like, share, follow, do all those things. I know it sounds cliche, like your kids when they're watching those videos, but trust me, it makes a difference for us, everybody that's there. And if you have questions for Dr. Tom, you're thinking about changing careers, changing avenues, or maybe getting into the extreme sport world or sports in general, getting off the couch, he will probably give you some advice on all those things. George is out there. George is from the Outlaws podcast. What's up, brother, man? make sure I know you got some questions for him, George. So real quick, let's get into some housekeeping. Over my right shoulder is always the big board for Sticker and a Cause. You have something you believe in, something you support. Maybe you have a club that you belong to. You're in the curling or something like that, or a band, and you want to get some free advertising. Reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Our website is the Above the Bar Podcast. Our email is the Above the Bar Podcast at gmail.com. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. I'll tell you where to send the sticker to, and we'll read about you live on the air, free for the world to hear about. Also, let's talk about our sponsors. That's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson and Coxsackie, and Schoharie, North America's largest custom window treatment company. They focus on everything from blinds, shade, shutters, drapery, tint, you name it. They have something to cover your window. As they like to say, there is a blind for every budget. Trust me, they will find a way. Heck, if they got to get a good roll of duct tape and put it up there, if that works for you, they'll do it for you. Don't worry about it. They got a guy. They can do it. But this month, for the month of March, it is buy 2 window treatments, get the third one free. And I'm looking at Dr. Tom's window treatments right now. He's got some older, looks like either wave or pinch pleat drapery in the back there that needs to be updated. I mean,
that's our closet.
Oh my goodness. Let's update that. Let's update that closet. They can do closet doors even for you. They have that. That's a thing. So, but they take care of all those kind of things. And as always, if you mention to them that you're there to belly up to the bar, you heard about them here on the show, they're going to give you an additional 5% off your order. So that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Coxsackie, or Budget Blinds of Schoharie. All right, Dr. Tom, all the house cleaning is done.
Sounds good.
Taken care of. Oh, Karen was on over in Instagram. She left us. The virtual copywriter. She had left us. I was going to say hi to her. But so we're going to talk to Dr. Tom. So let's give everybody kind of the rundown. Let me grab my notes here real quick, Dr. Tom. Give kind of everybody the rundown of your career if my notes want to come up. So you're coming up on an anniversary also.
20th anniversary in private practice.
In private practice. So gosh, let's see.
That old.
Career counselor, motivational speaker, accomplished athlete and adventurer. I love that. You've been in your personal business for 20 years, and I think we both would agree. If my business failed tomorrow, I will go and pick up trash on the side of the road and be the best trash picker upper. I'll pick up scrap metal. I will never work for anyone else again.
I hear you. I hear you. I feel very much the same way.
But I also understand the other side, and I want to talk about this a little bit during the show, how to be a great intrapreneur and how people need to understand the value of creating your own brand within companies and what that means for you. But let's see, you were Lawrence, director of Siena College Career Center in 2000, administrator of the year. And then you found Careers In Transition 20 years ago. Brother, you got, institutional client list, FBI, SUNY Research Facility, Time Warner Cable, SEFQ Bank, Turner Construction. Over 200 TV and radio appearances, 300 speeches. When do you have time to do any of this other stuff that you do, brother?
I say no to a lot of things.
Do you really? This doesn't look like you say no to anything.
Well, you have to also understand I've been doing this for a long time. So maybe I had one TV show last year. I'm going to be 59 now, but in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I was rocking and rolling. I've written over 200 articles. God. I haven't written an article in over a year.
And you have your book, Confessions of a Career Counselor.
I'm working on.
Oh, you're working on that.
I've got about 39 pages written on that. So the title of the book is Confessions of a Career Counselor, Weird and Wacky True Stories from My Office. And you don't get in the book unless it's weird and wacky. So I have a lot of normal clients. They don't get in the book, but there's just weird things weird people say or just weird things people do. And it's like, wow, I cannot believe I'm listening to this. It's going to be great.
Well, let's start with this. So, reality of it is you didn't start off as a career counselor.
No, but here's
your jump off point.
Here's the deal. There is a book that I have that was my favorite book growing up, and it's Richard Scarry's What Do People Do All Day?
Richard's.
Okay.
I've never
Gary's
heard of that.
What Do People Do All Day? And
Okay.
it's this big book, and it's got a lot going on in the book. There's like lots of graphics. So there'll be like 1-2 pages that are like on farming, and they got all these little animals and stuff like that. And so maybe back when I was 8 years old, that planted a seed. So I went to St. Lawrence University. I studied economics. I wanted to be an economist. But my junior year, I volunteered in the Career Center. My junior and senior year, I volunteered in the Career Center. I was a peer career counselor.
Okay.
And I was on the Career Planning Council. So this was 1986 that happened. A long time ago.
So much older than me. So much older.
It's so much older.
You're so barrel aged.
So barrel aged, but way faster.
This at this point in my life, yes.
It's like I'll go to like, I'll go to Hannaford and I'll be like, I am still the fastest person in this.
That's fair. Listen, that and it feels good.
Yeah.
So
like I got my fraternity reunion coming up, and they're all, one guy's got 4 planes, and I'm like, nobody can beat me on the bike. Not one. and that we'll go talk about success and values and that kind of
right. So you get into the Career Center there at college. You start doing that.
And I just love learning about different careers. It's just fascinating. Okay. So I graduate, I go into a management training program in a bank, and I only last a year. And I do this self-assessment on my own without any guidance, because that's what you did back in 1988, 89. And I said, when was the time I was the happiest? And it was when I was in college. So I quit my job. I had no job. I moved from Syracuse. I moved home. Yeah. Well, I was 21 years old. I didn't know anything. And so I moved home, and then I read What Color's Your Parachute, which is like the Bible of career development. I also read a book called Divorcing a Corporation. That certainly helped. And I had a friend lived in Boston. Always loved Boston. And I basically packed up my bags, and she let me stay with her at her parents' house.
Oh,
and
wow. Does your wife know that you stayed with other women?
What's that?
Does your wife know you've stayed in homes with other women?
If this keeps up, I'm gonna have an ex-wife.
Never. She'll just throw stuff.
No, I just told her today. I said, you've wasted a perfectly good day on a marriage with me. She's like, it's not wasted.
Oh,
we'll talk about, I got a new wife, so we'll talk about that too. So I'm like, I want to get a job in a college. So I went to Harvard, and I got into residential life. I did 1 year there, and then I spent 3 years at the Harvard Graduate School of Education in the Career Center.
Oh, okay.
Then I went to Boston University. I got my master's in higher ed administration. I also did my graduate assistantship in the Boston University School of Management in the Career Center.
Wow.
And then I moved back home, and I got a job at Union College. So the progression is like staff assistant, graduate assistant, then career counselor, assistant director, associate director, director. Okay. So I was at Union. I was there for 4 years. I was career counselor, assistant director, associate director. And one of the rules about higher ed is if you want to grow, you have to go. So that's when I went to Siena, and I was at Siena for 8 years. Actually, my practice has been going on since 1995. I was running it part-time on the weekends. So I was at Siena, and I'm taking care of students. And then I had a radio show on WAMC, Northeast Public Radio, for 15 years. And then people in the community would hear about me, and then they would call me up, and they would need help with resumes, cover letters, interview skills, changing jobs and careers. So I started this little part-time practice. Well, I took all the money and put it into this fund, and I realized, wow, it's not funny money. I bought a car, I put a roof on my house and central air, and I'm like, this is not funny money. And I was renting from a psychological practice in Del Mar Friday nights and Saturdays. I could have their office. and I was renting it for $100 a month. So I was clearing, like my overhead was so ridiculously low. And then in 2005, I decided to go full time. And
what was that pucker factor?
20 years.
Like that 2005 pucker factor of, okay, I'm going to step away from the guaranteed check, the medical benefits, the 10, because you're in colleges this whole time, the tenured,
it's sweet.
It's a good gig. And listen, folks, if you listen to Dr. Tom and I, listen, neither one of us are going to tell you to just quit your job and go be an underwater basket weaver or any of those kind of things. But we are going to tell you, like, hey, and he brought up a great point, and I'm going to say this now as we get into what that feeling was changing, but I'm going to say this now. If you are thinking about changing, unless you're in a position like I was where you had a comfortable kind of like, hey, I have a fallback where I'm good. I retired once already. I'm good. Doing exactly what Dr. Tom did of, well, let me do it on the evenings. Let me do it on the weekends. Let me
do it out of my garage, Yeah,
that is the
have a side gig.
Right. And it's not a side hustle. It's a part-time job. Being an adult, it's a part-time job. So what was that like for you? That as far as like, pulling that trigger, like what did that take for you?
It's my dog Tango.
Hi, Tango.
He comes to the office. I have my private practice is over in Colony, and I have a waiting room and a consultation room. And Tango comes and he greets the clients and then he sleeps. So he's sort of employed. Yeah, he's employed, and the clients love him because there's hardly a week that goes by that somebody's not in tears. So all you got to do is pick up Tango and give them to them, and they're great. I will say this: my dad was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
So, but my dad died when I was 10. And so, but I think that entrepreneurial gene is just there. Like I remember selling, we used to have a vegetable garden. So I had a wagon and I'd go up and down the street and I'd sell a pound of beans for 50 cents. And that was my ski money, or I'd buy a bike with it. And then we had pumpkins. We put them on the porch, that kind of thing. It was really kind of scary because I had a 5-year-old. I was going through a divorce. I was in a doctoral program, and I had a lot of things going on. And it was pretty scary. At the same time, one of the reasons why we do this is the freedom and flexibility. So I would take my daughter, Rachel, out of daycare nearly every Wednesday during the summertime. And we'd be driving up the Northway, just about to go over the Twin Bridges. So all these cars coming south. And I'd say, Rach, do you know why Dad can take a day off and go to the Adirondacks and go hiking with you? And she'd say, because you're an entrepreneur, Dad. Here's your ice cream cone. So
that's a beautiful.
My daughter and I climbed 86 mountains together. I can't get that time back. She lives in Boston. She's in a master's program. I get a text message that says, have a good week, and I love you. And you don't get that time back. Right. So, you have two commodities. You have money and time. But I will say it's not for everyone, and you should have a plan.
And I agree with you. And listen, folks, for those of you that are watching us live right now, if you have questions for Dr. Tom, maybe you're thinking about making a career change. You're curious, hey, what are some of my processes? Maybe you're looking at that career change is going in to the entrepreneurial spirit side of things. But I'm going to talk about something else also with him, which is the entrepreneurial side to things. How do you train that? I think there's a million things out there that'll tell you how to start your own business, how to get your own business, how to get this. I'll tell you about that. But I want to focus on that entrepreneurial. And folks, if you don't know what an entrepreneur is, that's building, and tell me if I say it wrong, Dr. Tom, you're the expert here, but that's building your brand within inside of companies so that when you do want to leave and move on to a new company, you're known within your industry as somebody who has a brand. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. I think I wrote an article once called You Are Your Brand. And I don't think a lot of people are thinking that way. So when I was at Siena, I was running this career center. I got 5 staff members. I'm in an office. My vice president is over in another building, not breathing down my neck. I have a once a week meeting with him. Great boss, best boss I ever had. We'd have a half an hour meeting. I tell him what I'm doing, and then he just let me go. I'm just running my own show. Nobody's telling me how to run this. So I ran it very entrepreneurially. We would do a program, and we're like, that program didn't work. Let's either scrap it, change it, get rid, do something with. And so there was a lot and I ran the career center like it was a firm. Like, this is my firm. Unfortunately, one of the realizations I came to was I'm busting my ass here. Somebody across campus in another office is not, and I'm getting the same 2% raise. That was one of the decision-making factors.
It's a huge factor.
One of the things you're talking about is just good career development. And can I just go back and put a framework with this? Okay. So let me just say, and this is shameless advertising, but my process parallels the 3 stages of the career development process. Okay. This is the most important thing I can tell you. I'm going to tell you my secrets. Okay. First part is self-assessment, then career exploration, then action plan. We're trying to answer 3 questions. In self-assessment, the question is, who am I? Career exploration is, where am I going? And the last question is, how do I get there? Okay. When a client calls me on the phone, I always give them a 20-minute to a half an hour phone consultation. People come preloaded. They have a lot of things that they want to talk about. The last thing you want to do is give them advice. So they've got to unload. So when I'm listening to them, I have 2 services. I have a full transition program and I have a resume service. If I ask them, if you were to hire me as your career counselor, what would you like me to do for you the most? And they say, I need guidance, focus, direction. I have no idea I'm going. They need this full program. If they say, I'm in sales, there's a sales job over here, I want to apply to it, they need a resume service. So here's how you think about it. It's sort of like I'm like a career mechanic. The first thing I have to do is diagnostics. Okay. I go to my mechanic and they hook it up to a computer, right? They got to figure out what's wrong with it. Do I need an oil change or do I need a new transmission? Because the oil change is going to be one price and it's going to take a certain amount of period of time, the new transmission is going to cost a lot more and it'll take them a lot more time. So people come to me and they're like, I want to make an appointment. And it's kind of like you drop off your car and you're like, I want to pay $19.95. It's like, so people contact me and they're like, I'd like to make a way looking at, what are your fees? And I'm like, well, how much work do you need? Do you need, I just need a little bit of work. And then you start going into it and it's like, wow, it's a hot mess all over the place. And not just the career stuff. There's emotional issues. There's a relationship. There's marital issues. There's health issues, psychological issues, financial issues, fun issues, friendship issues, family issues.
Why do you think, and you bring up a great point, and I've always been a believer in this. I don't cut my own hair. Could I? Yep. It's going to be a hot mess. Why do you think so many people think that, well, I'll just do it myself. I'll do a resume and I'll submit it. Or I know how to do these things. I'm good at this. Why not?
Why it is because people don't know career counseling is a thing. They don't know it's a thing.
We all had counselors in school.
So what happens is you go to, let's say you go to college or you go to school, you go to college, maybe in college you went to the career center and you got help and you got your first job. And then you get out there and you're out there for 2 to 3 years and for 5 years and things are not working out. You might, like I just signed up somebody who went back to his career center. He's a 2002 graduate of Union College, and he went back to Union College for alumni career services, but they only do it for 5 years out. So he was smart enough to at least do that. But you get your degree, they throw you out there and figure it out. And so people are like, well, I need to go on Indeed. I need to work on the resume. Those are the how to get there. How to get there is resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, interview skills, salary negotiate. That's how to get there. Well, where the hell is there? The middle question is, where am I going? Most people, I'd probably say 90% of my clients do not know where they're going. I'll even say, is it safe for me to say that you do not know where you're going? Oh, yeah. Okay. So now we have to go back to self-assessment. I have to interview them in a session, get to know them. Then I give them career tests, a questionnaire, and readings. They go, it's probably about 8 to 10 hours worth of homework. I tell them this is like taking a class. You're going to pay me tuition. There's 3 classes. There's homework. There's tests. There's readings. Okay. And it's pass fail. Okay. You're going to pay me the money up front. That way I get a commitment that you're serious and that you want to go through the whole program. That way you don't quit halfway through. Because what happens is I give the assessments and I warn them that there's a lot to do. And then they get into them and I get an email that says, you weren't kidding. There's a lot here. I need to reschedule my appointment. Well, I'm still going to keep your money because that's what happens when you go to college. You pay tuition and then midway through the semester, you call your parents and you want to quit. And they're like, you're not quitting. We're going to lose all our tuition. So after that first appointment, they do all this homework. They get it to me. And then I score it, sit down, next appointment. I interpret the results of these things. We look at all their options, and then we narrow them down to a top 10 list of jobs they'd consider. And then this is the most.
I got to pause you for a second. Because I'm curious about this list. So just for out of curiosity. So I've done this assessment. You're going through this top 10 list. So say today, just for something arbitrary, I'm a truck driver.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I want to. And you go through this list. Is this list going to give me things that are, completely right turns, and all of a sudden it's like accountant, underwater?
Okay, so that's a fair question. That's a fair question. So I'm going to give you a whole series of career tests. I'm not going to give you like one test and it's going to be magic. Okay, imagine you're my client and you come to me and I listen to you. And I think you got cancer, but you got to do the blood work, right? You got to do the blood work. Well, we don't just do one little blood work thing. It's like a series of blood work. Okay. You would never leave your physician and be like, nah, I ain't going to do the blood work. Nah, I'll be fine.
I'll be good.
Right. And when we go to our physician, they say, oh, I think it's cancer. You wouldn't just like walk out and be like, oh, he said it was cancer. No, we have to do test after test after test. So the assessments are very important. Now, one of the assessments is called the Dictionary of Occupational Titles. It's a list. It's a list of 2,258 jobs, alphabetical order. And I've tried to compile 90% of the jobs that are out there. So what you do is you go through with a highlighter and you highlight any jobs that are interesting. And then you put the top 25 on the first page. Then when the client comes in, I say, we look at the list and I'm going to say, I want you to do one more thing for me. I want you to take this 25 and I want you to bring it down to 10. Okay. So if some of the assessments I give like a representative sample, there's not a lot on there.
Gotcha.
Okay. Like the Campbell Interest and Skill Survey. But if the Campbell Interest and Skill Survey came up with real estate agent, and then you take this other one, and there's real estate agent, real estate appraiser, real estate developer.
Makes sense then.
I'm like, are you seeing a pattern here? And then there's 3 others that talk about PR, marketing. It's like, oh, maybe we can put all this together, right?
Right.
They're not magic. That's why they need me. It's like I went to my doctor and, I had the blood work and they mail you the results. And it's like alphabet soup. I'm like, I don't know
what any of that.
But at the top, he's like, everything looks good. Have a nice summer, right? But I need the doctor to interpret this stuff. That's why we do that in the second appointment. So between the second and third appointment, they have a little tiny homework assignment to do. And that is, it's basically summarizing. It's a career decision-making pack. It's very small. But on it, they're going to rank of all these assessments and all these jobs that we've talked about for an hour and a half. I want you to rank them in terms of number 1, your ideal or dream job. Okay, that's the one you're going to be the happiest with. Second is backup or realistic job, easier to get, less satisfying. And third is safety survival job. Like if you lost your job and you had to work at Stewart's or something like that, that's what that would be. So they come in for that second appointment. For the third appointment. Before that, I spend an hour. I read all the assessments, 4 to 5 pages of notes. I read this career development questionnaire. It's 28 pages. It takes me an hour to do all this.
You're a patient person.
I'm patient with certain things. I have really enjoyed listening to people's career problems for 35 years. I love it. But
is it the drama of it? Like, I'm going to be honest.
Everyone is different. Everyone. What do I got tomorrow? I got 2 people in their 20s tomorrow. Okay. On Friday, I got a guy who's 59.
Completely different animal.
Completely different. Yeah. I mean, I got 20-year-olds that are living at home, and I got this guy who's in pre-retirement.
And trying to figure out, like, do I make a career shift? Look, folks, if you're just joining us or you're listening to the audio of this and you want to know what Dr. Tom's got going on, it's Dr. Tom Denham, Denham, Denham.com. Again, that's Dr. Tom, Denham.com. You can reach out to him. What if, just out of curiosity, so somebody in Tupelo, Mississippi is listening to this. Can they work with you?
Yes, because my 8:00 client on Friday is in Utica.
Okay.
So I'm gonna finish the process, but let me just talk about her. So Julia in Utica, we're gonna do things through Zoom. So we're gonna have this hour. So I've already had my 20-minute phone consultation with her. Okay, she's signed up. She's gonna give me her credit card. All right, and we're gonna have this Zoom consultation. I'm going to mail her all the assessments. She's going to send me all the originals. She's going to keep a copy. I get everything scored. Second appointment, going to do it through Zoom. We're going to go through all the assessments together. Okay. So yes, I do this. I got 2 clients in New Jersey.
Location is
clients I got 1 in Boston. I get them all over the place. Yeah.
All right. So we've gone through 2 days with you. We've done all our assessments.
Now, between the second and third appointment, I'm going to read all this stuff. So it's kind of like I'm the professor. So if I'm the professor and I assign all this homework, I have to grade it.
Get a grade.
Okay. And now I have a lot of data. In the beginning, people are like, "Oh, should I do this?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I don't have enough data." So in the third appointment, they come in. They always tell me an update. I always ask them, "What do you think you've learned most about yourself since the last time we sat together?" And they'll say this, this, and this. And then I'll say, did any careers come to the surface? Did you get any clarity on any careers? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm really thinking about real estate. Okay, great. So then we go through the career development questionnaire. I've highlighted a bunch of things that they've written. I've brought them to their attention. When we're done with that, I tell them what jobs they're best suited for. I can actually do this because we've spent 3 hours together. I have all this data. And usually I'm able to tell them 3 to 5 things. I don't usually like to say one thing because I want them to have backup.
Right.
But this guy I had last Thursday, great guy. And we basically came up with 5 things and everything else was a no. And then after that, we come up with goals, an action plan. I help them with their resume, cover letter, 3 cover letters, LinkedIn, interview skills. All right, they leave the office. And then everything after that is done electronically with the resumes and stuff like that.
So for those of you that know me, I love talking to Dr. Tom every Wednesday. I also like watching Dr. Tom get fired up. Cover letters are bullshit. Cover letters.
Going to go there. just had a client get an interview because the cover letter was smoking hot. Just saying.
Oh God! But see, you know what? I want to talk about that. Like, so if anybody knows me, I was a recruiter. I was a staffer. 9 out of 10 of my clients didn't want nothing to do with. I think I can remember one, and they would be like, I don't want a cover letter. I just want to see the resume.
That's fine. But when my clients go on Indeed and they say resume, cover letter, and a list of 3 references, we follow the directions.
Okay.
So, one of the things that I've learned is there's no absolutes. Because you can say, it's interesting because people get very evangelical about resumes. Like a resume should always be 1 page.
Oh God, I can't stand that. I'm very anti one-page resume. If you've got information, provide it.
Yeah. So I've just learned I have to couch everything. Like there's no absolutes, because as soon as somebody says like, you should always have a 2-page cover letter or something like that. Like always just rubs me the wrong way. Anyway.
What about resume styles? Like, so, and the reason I asked that is I've done, when I was first transitioning out of the Marine Corps it wasn't even out of the Marine Corps. When I was leaving the railroad, I was looking at it, and I worked with a group, and they did resumes where every resume was tailored to the individual career. And if the company said skills that were important were leadership, this, that, and the other, you should have a line that says leadership and then describing what you've done in leadership. I've seen it different ways. Is there anything that, like, should the resume bounce like this way, this style, or this way, that style? What are your thoughts on that?
These are good. These are good questions. Some of the most important things are the resume has to get read.
Okay.
Okay. I've seen a lot of pretty resumes that are very hard to read.
What do you mean?
Well, I have a resume of a client on Friday, and it's like font size 10 and like a very, very thin margin, very little margin, and there's too much on there. So there's a lot of data, but it's not visually appealing to read. So it's got to be read, and it's got to be fast too. And I write people's resumes very similar to the way my resume is done. So I practice what I preach. At the same time, like I worked with a guy who was a provost at a college, and he wanted to be a college president. He had a 4-page CV. Anything beyond 2 pages is called a CV. A 1-page resume or a 2-page resume absolutely wouldn't even get the interview. His cover letter was 2 pages. The job description was 3 pages. So I always say it depends. Well, I have a 1-page resume, but if I'm trying to be the director of the RPI Career Center, that's going to sell me short. So I need 2 pages.
It's funny you mentioned that. Friend of mine is a CPO, Chief Personnel Officer, and we've talked about hiring CEOs, C-suite level VPs, and it is. I will tell you, folks, if you might think that you went through 2 or 3 rounds of resumes or of interviews and it was really tough, until you've seen what people do for C-suite level positions. And, he actually, and I think you'll appreciate this. They were interviewing a guy, not his current company, a company he was the CPO for prior. And the guy they were interviewing made the interviewers sign an NDA for him. Yeah. Because he presented a process that was his process that he had patented, kind of thing, for running companies. He was a very, very successful gentleman, but he made them sign an NDA, and they were like, absolutely not a problem. Because at that level, and that's what I want people to understand is, when you go and see a Dr. Tom, he understands the different levels. Yeah. He understands the different things. And Nate said here, job experience, cover letter, job experience. What do you bring to the table? What's up, Lisa? How are you? She has scary voodoo dolls that are all haunted, so none of them need a resume. I hate it when people send stuff in different fonts. What's up, Air James? It's kind of an awful HR professional expect that all applicants to have communication associates. I'm not sure what you mean, James. That's got me confused. It's kind of an awful that HR professionals expect all. So they expect that everybody knows how to communicate and have a writing degree. Gotcha. I understood. It took me a minute. I'm a little slow. It's the Marine thing in me. But as you're going through these things, associates in arts, as you're going through these things, what is, though, if you were going to give somebody just that basic baseline, like, do this with your resume? Like,
okay. So I'm going to give you guidelines with the caveat that it depends. Okay.
I get it.
I typically have 1/2-inch margins on all sides. I have in the center their heading. So I have their name, their address, phone number, email, and then LinkedIn URL. So people can go to their URL and learn more about them. Then I typically have a summary section, objective sections. We don't use those anymore. Then it depends. And then after that, everything depends. Okay. Sometimes people can have a category called key accomplishments. Like if you were in sales, you just write all your key accomplishments there. Some people have education first. Some people have education at the bottom. If you've been out of school for 20 years, you're probably going to have it at the bottom, unless it's directly related to what you want to go into. So if somebody was applying for a job in my office at Siena and they had an MSW, a counseling degree, a degree in higher education, it was master's level, that's what I was looking for. So in the top half of your resume, it's the most important. So as I'm going through a stack, literally of 100 resumes and cover letters to fill an assistant director position, I can just go through. You don't have a master's degree, I'm taking you out of the pile. That doesn't mean that you couldn't do the job, but I'm trying to get this pile from 100 down to 20. And that's one of the ways I would do it. So you could have education first, then experience, then additional experience, and then you could have community service. But it always depends. Most employers want a chronological resume, which is reverse chronological order. And then there's a functional resume where you have skill sets, and then there's a blend of the two. So I have to understand the client and what they're trying to accomplish. Again, a resume is part of that action plan, how to get there. If I know where there is, then I can reorganize the things. It's like if I said to you, hey, Sean, you and I are going to go to a party. I want you to head home and get dressed. And you say, well, what kind of a party it is? And I say, I'm not going to tell you. Right. And you're like, should I wear a coat and tie? Is it a pool party? Is it, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. Well, how can I pick? So that's like the resume. It's like, how do I reorder things when I don't know what the target is?
No, that's why
this process needs to be sequential.
But see, that makes absolute sense. And that kind of gets into, you have to take a step back. You have to look at what is the entire thing? What is the entire process? What are we accomplishing? Right. What is the employer looking for?
Right.
That makes perfect sense to me. And hey, James, good to see you too, brother, man. We'll have to catch up here soon. We're getting close to closing the bar here, and we got to get to our New Scotland Spirits last call here. So looking for a spirit that's as bold and as rich as New York history, New Scotland Spirits is crafting exceptional locally sourced whiskey that tells a story with every sip, from grain to glass, with honor, tradition, pushing the boundaries of flavor. Whether you're a whiskey connoisseur or just getting started, there's a bottle waiting for you. Raise your glass to true craftsmanship. Find New Scotland Spirits near you or visit newscotlandspirits.com to learn more. New Scotland Spirits, where history and flavor meet. It's like you. where history and flavor meet.
Let's just talk about this process just a little bit. So It's like building a house. Self-assessment is the foundation. Remember that show, Extreme Makeover Home Edition?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now when they first do it, it's like they do time-lapse photography over the foundation.
Right.
If you go back and watch it, it's like, but then what, the big reveal, like they open the doors in the kid's bedroom and that kind of thing. Well, career development is very much the same thing. If you got cracks in the basement, you're going to have cracks on the second floor. And people don't know how to do self-assessment. You have a problem with your job or career. What do? Work on my resume, work on LinkedIn, and look for a job. And I have no idea what I'm looking for. And I find things and I apply for them. And I don't even know if I'm qualified. I don't know if my resume is good. I don't know if my cover letter is good, but I'm going to hopefully something's going to stick here. And then after about 2 months, I've applied to 50 positions and I haven't gotten even one interview. And now I'm feeling depressed. And I've talked to my significant other about this, and they're no help, because at the beginning of the show, you were talking about like you don't cut your own hair. Right. It's like these people are trying to build a deck on the back of their house with a knife, fork, and spoon. They don't know how and a YouTube video. They don't know how to do it. And and I don't blame them. No one teaches you this stuff. Can I get it on, man?
Listen, wait a sec. Hold on. Let's see if we can get here. Maybe we'll go with this one. Let's see if this one comes through.
You know, I got tiger blood, man.
Did it come through?
Yeah.
You know, that's Charlie Sheen.
You know, I got tiger blood, man.
You know, I got tiger blood, man. That's Dr. Tom. You know, I got tiger blood, man. But you know what? You bring up a great point, and I want to throw this out just real quick. Listen, folks, YouTube is great. You can learn a lot. But if you couldn't figure out how to tie your shoes till 6th grade, YouTube is probably not going to do shit for you just because you watched it. Listen, right. Sometimes there's a reason, just like, you know, I'm a big AI person. I enjoy it. There's a lot that I do with AI. I also understand that you have to take AI and it has to be taught how to do things.
Well, you know, with the internet and AI, why are people still calling me? Why is my practice virtually full? Because everything I do is online. They want to feel heard. They want personalized attention. None of career counseling is not going away. I remember when the internet came out and people were like, the library's going to go away. The career counselors are going to go away. Libraries are still here. Right. Bethlehem Public Library right down the street. They get 1,000 people every day that walk through that door. You know, so people still want to feel heard.
It's a part of the community.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, there's certain things like I would never do my electrical work.
Right.
Like I had 2 trees taken down. They had 6 guys come, cost $3,000. They were here for an hour and a half. And there wasn't one piece of tree left. They took every single stick and every single wood chip. It's amazing. Like I had to video the whole thing. And then there are people who are like, oh, I can take it down. Oh, yeah. And it's going to go on your roof.
Right. And
you're going to have more damage. So it's when people contact me, they've pretty much tried to do everything on their own and it's not working. They have to call in a pro.
Well, that's the whole thing. Yeah. James said it's okay to do your own electrical. You do your own electrical, brother. I mean, let me know how that works. Let me know how that works out for you. And yes, Nathan, I need all the attention I can get. So
you know, we haven't spent 1 minute talking about triathlons.
Well, actually, what I was going to say is I was going to again say, look, folks, if you want to know more about Dr. Tom or what he's got going on, Dr. Tom Denham, DENHAM.com. You can see. But what I was going to ask you about is
I want to come back and talk about triathlons.
Well, what I was going to actually get into right now is because, yes, James, he is a triathlete.
Because why suck at one sport when you can suck at all 3?
All 3 of them. But what I wanted to actually get into is the other side of it is you have to listen to do you know? Well, let's see. Do you know Dr. Jason? I don't know how to.
No, I don't.
No, he doesn't. But what I was going to say is since you have yourself wrapped up in other people's things all day long, you know, whatever that burden that they're dumping, you have to do it. I know you and all these other things you do, but let's see, you've climbed all those. You've done the what is it called? The
46 Adirondack 46. I've climbed Rainier, Mount Hood, Glacier Peak, Forbidden Peak, Devil's Tower, Half Dome, Shasta, all the big ones out there.
Look at you like, Tom, go ahead. Yeah, I know, Devil's Peak.
I didn't climb Everest.
I climbed Alien Asshole, whatever other ones are out there. You just throw your shoulders up. But is that for you, you know, getting into these extreme sports? Because the guy I know from when we've talked, you know, you're a very like intense. Is that how you've found a way to kind of like dump people's?
Yeah. Well, I'll just to dial it back. I was a Boy Scout. Okay. And that's where all these things happened. We were a camping troop. And then I got into hiking. I was a 46er. Then I got into rock climbing, ice climbing. And then those are ice climbing is winter, and then I got into running, and then I got into triathlons, and then curling. But those, they're seasonal. I practice what I preach. I think it is absolutely terrifying to change jobs and careers. You got a lot to lose. So I have to do, it's really nice if I get paid a lot of money to sit on the side of the table and they're like, oh, you should change careers. That's easy for enough for you to say. So I've put myself in situations where I have to go outside the comfort zone. So if I say, I worked hard and trained for a triathlon and this was the result, maybe I'm modeling the way for other people.
Now, that's enough, like the triathlon. And again, we can do a whole hour on that entire thing, because
that could be a series, a podcast series,
listen,
5 episodes.
We can do it. Like, listen, I
can show you my $9,000 bike.
So I can still remember the first time I was Marine recruiter and I had a kid come in my office and he's like, Staff Sergeant, I got to get a new bike. I'm like, all right, dude, like go to Walmart. Why are you telling me? He's like, what are you talking about? I have a $3,000, and this was 15 years ago, carbon fiber, blah, blah, blah. And he's going through all this stuff. And I'm like, he's like, I wrecked it. I'm like, is there something wrong with it? He's like, no, but it's carbon fiber. So the fibers inside of it could be damaged and we won't know it. It has to be x-rayed. And like, this kid was super into it, like super, super into it. James says 9K is cheap for some guys. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Well, so I bought this bike last year because my other bike was the gears weren't working. I knew it was going to be a lot of money. And it's just one of those things. Like the other thing in triathlon community is this is the one place where you can buy speed. Okay. So my other bike,
you can do that at too. There's a lot of corners you can do that at.
Yeah. So, my other bike could go 20 miles an hour. This bike can go 22. So the amount of time I'm saving is significant. So I had 9 triathlons last year. I had 6 personal bests out of the 9.
Just for changing bikes.
Just by changing bikes. I had to go to Grey Ghost up in Glens Falls. I had a 3-hour bike fitting. 3 hours. Cost $300. And then they took all my measurements and took pictures and all this stuff. The bike was personally designed for me in Canada. And I took it home. I was terrified to get on it because it's kind of like a Ferrari. You get into it and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to drive it out of the driveway and somebody's going to hit me. And I got on this bike. I swear to you, it was some kind of out of body, spiritual, divine experience. I got on this thing. And first of all, my back didn't hurt because it was perfectly fit me. And then I start going on the rail trail. I'm like, the bike is doing all the work. The bike is doing the work. I'm not. With my other bike, it was like I tried to get more miles out of it and faster and faster and faster. This bike's like, that's as fast as you can pedal because I can go more. And it's really
your bike called you a bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like that's the best you can do. Come on, that's amateur. So I don't have a boat. I don't have fishing gear. I do have about $3,000 worth of ice and rock climbing gear, but that's all paid for. I don't, do you know what kind of motorcycle you can get for $9,000? A pretty decent one.
I mean, you can get a crotch rocket.
Right. And I looked it up. I'm like, what could I get for, but no one would pay like $9,000 for a bike. But my friends in the triathlon community, they're like, oh, only 9,000, mine's 15.
Yeah. Like again, they're calling you out like,
that's chump change, dude. But no, I brought it to the Tri Club. People looked at it and they're like, holy crap, what the hell is that thing? They were, yeah.
Locally, it was impressive, but in the triathlon community, it was
in the triathlon community, it's an elite bike. I will say it's an elite bike, but there's some model coming out this year that is like a nano little bit better. Do you know what the difference between a professional triathlete and a pizza is? No. A pizza will feed a family of 4.
Fair enough.
I follow a pro, and he's a great guy, but it's like hand to mouth.
Yeah, I mean, I had a buddy who used to run the Ironmans out in Hawaii.
Yep.
all the time. He was another Marine, and he used to run those. And the way he trained for that stuff, it was like, bro, you're never going to be that guy who wins.
You're not.
And he was, for a Marine, he was a absolutely phenomenal, outstanding athlete. But he was the kind of guy where it would never happen. But, I'm just curious, like, using those two things, those extremes that you've got going on, how often, do you have to, like, when you finish a day, are you like looking at your bride and being like, I love you, I mean it, I have to go, this is my decompression? Because I think a lot of people don't have that decompression, which is part of why they struggle in their career side.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. So what I do is, in the summertime, when I train between 2 to 4 hours a day. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So like today I had 6 phone consultations. Okay. I took 5 of them and then went out and trained. And then I came back and then I took another phone consultation. So, and I really needed that bike ride, but usually I'm done by like 2:00 in the afternoon. And then I train, I ride, I bike. I bike, I run, and then I go to the climbing gym, and then 2 days a week I swim. But you're right. I need to decompress. And as a result, I'm a better career counselor. Like today, I'm pretty spent, and tomorrow I got a full day. Friday, I'm starting at 8:00 and I'm going until 4, and I don't even get a lunch break. So it's really intense. But this week has been very busy. But normally I'm done by the afternoon. And yeah, I need time to clear my head. Now, the missus is fine with it. She's good. I only do the sprints, so I'm not going out on 100-mile bike rides and stuff like that. I just do the sprints. So I can do a sprint in about an hour and 24 minutes, hour and 20 minutes, something like that. How hard is
the sprint? Because I know that
it's all out hard. It's like I got 2 speeds, Sean. Fast and overdrive. That's why I can't do Ironman, because I can't pace myself. I did 2 Olympic distances, which is twice the distance of a sprint. And the first year I did it, I went all out on the swim, all out on the bike, and there's a 10K run. I'm like 3 miles into the 10K run, and I just like gassed out.
Just shit to bed at that point, huh?
Shit to bed. And so my specialty is the super sprint. So I'm doing a super sprint in June in Westfield, Massachusetts. It's a 250-yard swim, a 10K bike, and a 1-mile run. And I'm going to do that.
Nice.
I'm going to do that in 35 minutes. And some people are like, wow, that's not very hard. What is more difficult, the 100-yard dash or a marathon? They're both hard. It's just like the 100-yard dash, it's all out. And that's just the way I'm wired. Most of my friends, and as you get older, you have more endurance. Most of my friends are like multiple Ironmans, but they're plotters. They go out and they do the swim, and then they go on the bike, and they just keep going, and then they just keep going. And then
trudge along.
If you watch somebody cross the finish line in an Ironman, they're not sprinting. I sprint. It's not that I can't do Ironman. I just can't dial it down. It's just not the way I'm wired.
I get it completely. And we're going to ask Nathan's question, then we're going to get ready to close it all up here. Nate always has, and I'm going to kind of ask this twofold. What is your go-to meal after a work day and a workout? Is it always pizza?
It's pizza 100% of the time. It's so after a triathlon, I come home. I don't even take off my clothes, and I do my data analysis. So I'm here and I'm like crunching numbers, and I'm like, oh, my T2 time was 15 seconds faster than last year. Lisa's like, that's great, hon. Did you have a good time? Pizza, non-alcoholic beer, Athletic Brewing Company. It's my favorite, and a cookie. We do triathlons because we love food.
I get it. And James said, take a vacation in Humboldt, California, and do a century worth. Some of my friends,
Okay, century ride is 100-mile ride.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did.
No alcohol?
No alcohol. No, I can't. I'm 10. I had an ice climbing injury at the beginning of the year, and I've been sitting on the side. I got a meniscus problem. I was climbing a waterfall and I twisted my meniscus. And so I've been sitting on the sidelines for 8 weeks, no exercise. I've gained 12 pounds. I'm just starting to ride my bike, I can run about a half mile right now. That's as far as I can go before it starts to hurt.
You see that puckered lip for you?
What is that?
That's me. Oh, whoa. Listen,
Oh, wow.
I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. When I retired from the Marine Corps beat my body to death. That's all I can tell you.
Well, you know what my suggestion is?
Oh,
curling.
I'm interested in it. I definitely would be interested.
Okay, so in the fall, the Albany Curling Club has a Learn to Curl. It's in October, and you pay whatever it is, and it's like Saturdays for a couple weeks, and you learn to curl. If after that you want to go into a league, we'll put you right into a league.
Well, here's because I know I'll see you again. You will have to keep reminding me of it.
Yeah,
and we will figure it out. So, real quick, folks, we're getting ready to let Dr. Tom go. He's gonna go ride his bike and like run around the house or something like that. I don't know if it's
and then have a piece of pizza
and then eat a piece of pizza, but it won't be Antico pizza from Atlanta. And you'd have to join us on our hour to know what that's all about. But next week we have Sam Cookies, the founder and CEO of CC Cattle Company. It's a non-for-profit focused on combating food insecurity by raising pasture-fed cattle and donating the meat to local food banks. I love this. It reminds me very similar to there's a hunting program called Hunters for the Hungry, where if you take a deer, you can find local places to drop it off, and they use it for the homeless or the food insecure community. And if you don't know anything about food insecurity, folks, if you want to learn about something that will absolutely blow your mind that you probably have never heard of, go learn about food deserts. If you don't know what a food desert is, you're going to be like, that's not a thing. Go figure out what a food desert is and then get back to me when you realize like, oh shit, this is a thing. And this is what grocery stores do and how they market to where things are at. So, oh, look, there's Barbara. We love Barbara. Oh yeah, it's a thing. So again, as we always say here, folks, if you liked what Dr. Tom's got going on, make sure you check him out at Dr. Tom Denham, DENHAM.com. You can find him on LinkedIn under the same name. Follow him, see what he's got going on. If your career sucks, and you know it does, give him a call. You're addicted to the money, or you're addicted to the schedule that you have because you say, oh, I can't leave this job. Little Johnny gets done with school at 3:00 and I can get home at 2:45, but yet you still are all eating Stouffer's lasagna once a week, and not because you like it. So give Dr. Tom a call. He'll help you out. He'll get you, something, he's got a career for you. There's somebody that's got to clean the poles at the strip club, and that could be you. It could be your career choice. And Dr. Tom will help you figure out how to get to that point. So make sure you're reaching out to him. And as I always say, if you found me through Dr. Tom or Dr. Tom through me, again, like, share, follow, do all those things. Now, Doc, don't log off on me right after this. We got to talk for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
As we do in every episode. And I know you binged all 100, 200 and some, it's like 270 something. I don't know. What do you, hold on a sec, James, drtomdenham.com. Go right onto, you don't need his number. Go right onto his website, drtomdenham, DENHAM.com. You will connect with him there. You can connect. He will help you out. He will get you situated, you're not far from each other. I know where you live. You guys are not far. You're both in the capital region. Go do that. I love James. He was in the Navy. I don't hold that against him though. Yes. Doctor. No, not DOC. No, just DR Tom Denham, not DO, not doctor spelled out, just drtomdenham.com. Just DR. I miss you, James. All right. So James has been on the show several times, but make sure you're reaching out. But as we do at the end of every episode, the guest always gets the final word. So Dr. Tom, what is the final word tonight?
Where you go in life is up to you.
Alrighty,
but you don't have to do it alone.
Alrighty, folks. Be sure.
And thank you for having me. This was great. I need to talk about ice climbing, rock climbing, mountaineering, and curling. That's a whole show. And we got 5 minutes of triathlons, and I didn't even talk about the swim. We got to talk about the swim. We got to talk about the bike.
Okay. We'll talk. Yeah. Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. Did you have fun, Dr.